Hello, and welcome to another episode of Understanding CBD. Today, we're talking about CBD dosing with Stacy Ray, and she's the expert of getting healthy, not high. So let's bring her in here. How are you today, Stacy?
I'm getting healthy, not high.
That's great.
Thank
I
you.
always look forward to our conversations. You just have such a great, bubbly personality, and it's always fun to talk. And there's a lot of people that can really benefit from this information. I mean, both
Thank
of us
you.
have been using and experimenting with CBD. We're not experts and doctors or
No,
anything like that. We're not scientists, but we are very passionate about getting healthy and not high, and all the opportunities that are available within CBD to accomplish this. And we just want to create content that people can enjoy. And I enjoy talking with you all the time. So I'm glad we could get this time
same,
together.
same here.
Awesome.
I
Great. So this topic today is CBD dosing and getting the right serving. And you shared with me something from one of the doctors that you work with about even just making food and making it palatable to people, because if they don't like the taste, they're just not going to be compliant. Is that right?
That's what they tell me. Just to let you know my context here, in my book with the CBD Recipe Guru, I have the support of two medical doctors, Dr. Kenton Freeman and Dr. Carol Gimberling Stewart. And they both are fantastic. They weigh in on all kinds of things about CBD and dosing and endocannabinoid and stress and anxiety and alternative treatments and all kinds of things. So they're it's just invaluable working with them, and it's made me feel more confident about writing my book and feeling like I have doctors supporting me on this. So what Dr. Kenton has told me in terms of dosing, it's on page 26 in my book, and it's about dosing dilemma. He calls it a dilemma. And so there's like 7 different points that he brought up. So I had to have my little notes here, So
My reader's out.
yeah, I
Sorry.
got your readers. I mean, my readers are all the time. So hey, but they, on for doctors, they when it comes to medicine and drugs, they go, oh well, what's the RDI? The
Hmm.
RDI.
What does
That is,
RDI stand for? What
it's
kind of doctors are? What kind of doctor is he first? Just
yeah,
so.
Dr. Kenton, he's a medical doctor, and he's double board certified. And he's practiced, gosh, over 35 years, and he's his specialties. Let me get it here because if I don't say it right, I'm going to get in trouble. I mean, it's just okay. So he's double board certified, and he specialized in physical medicine and rehabilitation medicine at the University of Missouri Hospital and the Rehabilitation Center in Columbia, Missouri. He holds 2 medical specialty board certifications in physical medicine and rehabilitation and pain medicine. And his subspecialties include electrodiagnosis, training, and manipulative therapy and nutrition.
I love that you've consulted with a doctor, because they always say consult with a doctor before you start
Yes.
using CBD or any cannabis types of products or even supplements. Consult with your doctor,
Oh, yeah.
and you took the initiative to really, before you released your book, to get it approved, and you did talk to a doctor. So that makes me feel a lot more comfortable reading your book and
Thank
knowing
you.
that it's been reviewed by.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Sorry about my dog barking.
Oh, I've got my cats meowing, so.
Okay, so I'm sorry for interrupting you. So,
No, no,
so,
I'm
so
no.
there was an acronym that you brought up,
Well, wait a
RPI.
minute. Well, before I get into that, the other doctor is Dr. Carol Gimberling Stewart, and she holds several degrees and has over 3 decades of experience as an educator and a clinician. She advocates integrative, non-pharmacological therapeutic options when emphasizing the benefits of integrating natural therapies and traditional therapeutic options. And she's a doctor of nurse practice.
I love that. A doctor of
Yep.
nurse practitioner.
Yes,
And it sounds like she has a holistic approach to healing, which
totally.
is so important
Yes,
nowadays with, because a lot of times people are looking for either this way or that way, but to take a holistic approach using what's good in Western medicine, what's good from Eastern
yes,
medicine, combining them based on what the individual has,
yes.
that's really powerful.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I wanted to read you about her as well. So both of them are doctors, and in their own rights and different things. So they complement each other. They overlap. It's a really good balance for things. So
And not to get, I know we don't want to talk about your book all day today, but you do add
oh,
something really cool into the book, because you make it interactive and the doctors weigh in on different topics and you do it through
yeah.
QR codes, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up, Steve. I do, and I break my book down into basic components like learn, use, buy, and cook. And so, we learn about CBD, we learn how to use it, we learn how to buy it, and then we learn how to cook with it. But in the learn section, I have QR codes from both doctors. So we have one, I don't know if you can see that, from Dr. Carol, and it's all about anxiety and stress, which is massive. That's to me one of the biggest things that CBD is used for. And then, so you just scan your phone over the QR code right there, and it takes you to my YouTube website where Dr. Carol is already speaking to you specifically about stress and anxiety and how it physically works in your bodies. So it's just so educational to have all of that.
Yeah, it's really great to have an expert there. That fight or flight response that we have with stress can make us sick.
Oh, I know it really can. And so, by the way, the first time we did this podcast, I got really nervous at first, and I said to you, next time I'm taking my CBD before I have my podcast with you, because I had stress and anxiety. You
Mhm.
know, I'm just like everybody else. You and I are just like everybody else. And so, speaking and like you said, your radio shows, podcasts, whatnot. So I took my CBD and I'm just so chill.
That's great.
And along those lines too, Dr. Carol's another one. She's got, this is a QR code for mindful breathing. And she has a beautiful, soothing voice. And she gives you a whole experience of mindful breathing. You shut your eyes, you do what she tells you, you breathe in, you breathe out, all this visualization. So she helps you literally calm down. So that's super cool. So there are other things.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Breath work and controlling the mind. We a lot of times in our conversations with clients or patients or clinicians, the addiction comes up a lot,
Oh yeah.
and people talk about substance abuse addictions, but really the biggest addiction we have is addiction to thinking and the
Wow.
ability to get back into control of what's happening in your mind with a good practice and
Yes.
breath work. I was just talking with someone yesterday, and she said, meditation is just not my thing. Well, look, we all have brains, we have minds, and it's important to get a hold of your own mind and practice, even if it's just for moments and moments and moments. They grow in time. But
Yes.
that, I think one of the sayings is, where the mind goes, the body flows. So
Yes.
if your mind is all over the place and it's bouncing back and forth and you're really dragged out of control, just imagine the ripples of that through the rest of your body. And the beauty of it is if you can take the time and attention to really get this in control, you will have a better quality of life, because CBD is not going to do it alone. There isn't a magic bullet. So,
Oh, I
all right.
agree. And Dr. Carroll said, I mean, it's very helpful though. It's very, very effective with this. I mean, I can tell you. But Dr. Carroll says that it has like a physical effect on your body. Like when you stress out, when you get stressed, you don't realize it, like your friend who can't get out of their head. I mean, they're meditating, they're thinking all the time. But when you're just constantly ruminating over something, your muscles go, you know, and so your muscles, you know, squeeze your nerves. You know, your muscles are tightening on your nerves. And so then you know, you have pain and, you know, all these things. So, but when you take CBD, it just relaxes those muscles and it's not squeezing on the nerves and you're just all chill, you know. That's just my personal experience. I'm sure not everybody feels like that, but a lot of people I know, they take it for stress and anxiety. And that's just one thing that I'm talking about. But, and then in terms of the doctors, we have I just wanted to show you really briefly, Dr. Kenton has some really cool ones on endocannabinoid system. And that's the QR code over there that you scan. And then this one, but the other one is he just talks about the endocannabinoid system, and Dr. Carroll talks again. So they're kind of peppered throughout my book. These doctors weigh in, so it's kind of cool because you feel like they're sitting at the kitchen table with you, talking to you about the stresses that you have or the concerns, or you're like, well, how does this work in my body? And what about dosing? And he goes, well, okay, let's talk about dosing factor, you know? So, you know, it's like you're having a private one-on-one conversation with your doctor in your house. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, much better experience than just a book alone.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to
getting it integrated into that's pretty cool.
Interactive. I wanted to be interactive, sure. But yeah, well, thank you for that. And for letting me show that in my book. But
thank you.
Yeah. And so do you want me to tell you what Dr. Kenton said about dosing?
Yeah. You have me on this RPI, and acronyms are always tough to remember. But
RDI.
RDI. See, I couldn't even remember it already.
Well, and that stands for recommended dosing intake. That's what doctors they go, well, what's the RDI on that pill? Well, it's like CBD. There is no recommended dosing intake, right? I mean, really, it's because it's not regulated, so there's no recommended dosing intake.
Yeah, there's products that are non-standard. There's you know, it's unregulated, so you have so many different brands out there, so many different varieties of plants out there.
Right.
You know, what is and everyone's different, so this RDI can be a moving target.
Yep.
So what do you say here? So
he's letting people know that this is part of the anxiety, the dilemma that you're going to have when you try to take CBD, because you go, well, he says there is no recommended dosing intake. So you have to realize that, you know, as a consumer, the onus is on you to, you know, do your due diligence and learn as much as you can. That's why we're here, to help people learn as much as they can, so that they can make informed decisions on, okay, well, I know that this is what's going on, but I'm going to try this. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to try that, you know? So, so that's what you have to be responsible at this point, because like you said, there's no standardizations in CBD at all. So that's one thing. And then the other, the dosing dilemma question he says is, well, how many milliliters of CBD should you take? Like, you know, there's no recommended dosing intake. So once again, you know, buyer beware, you know, you have to
caveat emptor. Maybe we can do another session on that alone, because I want to talk about, you know, sourcing and when you get a product and all that other stuff. How you can be an educated consumer.
Yep.
And what to look for when buying. But we're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about dosing.
Dosing dilemmas. Yeah, but right now, but then then the other thing is, the question he had is that people will ask is, how concentrated is it? Like, how do I know how concentrated it is? You know, so it's something you have to look on your bottle. What's the concentration? You know, what's the potency of the CBD? I always call CBD my medicine, but it really isn't. But I call it my medicine because it's my medicine. You know, since I don't use other medicines for headaches or stress or pain or whatever, it's my personal medicine. You know, so how concentrated is it? And then his other question is, what kind of CBD should you take? You know, like we had spoken about earlier when we did our definitions of, you know, CBD words like broad spectrum, full spectrum, CBD isolate, you know, so that stuff like that.
That matters. It all matters.
Totally matters. Yeah. And then people say, well, how do I take it? You know, just like you've got tinctures with, Wallman's Apothecary CBDs. You have tinctures, but other forms, we said smoking it or rubbing it on topically, or so there's just different ways to, sublingual, on your tongue, eat it. How do I take it?
Mhm.
And then how often do I take it? Everybody's, well, how, so
That's we get that question so much. It's like, a lot of people say to me, "Well, I wanna take it for sleep, so should I just take it at night?" As an example.
that's a good question.
And, it's, a good question. When do you take it? And especially if you have medication that
Yeah,
you're taking, is when do I take it? Do I take it with my pills? Do I take it out of my pills? Like, how does it, it's a dilemma.
it's a dosing dilemma. Yeah. And then the last one, this is, I love the way he talks. He said, "Is it real or is it moonshine?" Is it snake oil? Is it moonshine, or is it CBD? You know.
Right?
So he just said, you once again, you want a trusted source. You want, all that stuff we talked about. So those are his dosing dilemma questions. And then I mean, please weigh in if you have anything you want to say to any of this.
Yeah,
But
no, I think that those are, outlined the context of the challenge of this RDI getting a recommended
yes.
dosage intake. Is that what
Yeah,
recommended
recommended dosing intake.
dosing intake?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of variables that that are worth investigating further to make this a little clearer, and empower people to be able to find out what their own, because like you said, everyone is going to be different. So
Oh
what is
yeah.
your recommended dosing intake? And not asking you, but everyone would want to find their own.
Oh yeah, because it's so different.
So
Well
what do you
then
want to cover today on the
well well then back and then this is maybe how we can dive deeper into some of those questions is that so that's the dilemma of that's the dilemma of our consumers that are going through the journey of trying to take CBD and improve their life and get healthy not high. I mean, they have a lot of questions in there. But the other element that I think is important, it's on page 27 of my book by Dr. Kenton, is there are three elements that are factors in these dilemmas that you have. So the number one factor is your overall health and medical condition. That's a big factor. Okay,
Mm,
because that's everybody's trying to, and then the second factor is the type and severity of your health conditions that you want to affect. So like, how bad is your insomnia? Do you never sleep? Or how bad is your pain? Or do you just have a little headache? Or how stressed out are you? Or are you trying to I've heard CBD has been used and some research has showed for people who are trying to wean themselves off, drugs. And so how what situation are you in at that point? So everybody's situation is different.
sure. Yeah, and you'll have, like, I know anxiety can be both chronic anxiety, like some people are always worried, and then there's situational anxiety.
Yes.
Like my
Well,
dogs were just chilling, and then when the garage door opens, one of the dogs jumps up and starts barking because she's protecting
yeah,
the area. So it's
vigilant.
it could be, you could be fine, and then you get an email that your payment was late, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden your heart starts jumping up and down. So you know
right.
being able to identify these areas that are important when you're thinking about dosing.
Absolutely. And then the last dosing factor in solving your dosing dilemma is the medicines that you're currently taking and the possible interaction with those medicines is something that you need to discuss with your medical provider prior to taking CBD. This is coming from a doctor now. I'm not a doctor, but this is coming from a doctor. And I might also say that, and you have so much more experience of this than I do. I just have my doctors who, I mean, not a lot of doctors don't know about CBD and how it interacts. But I tell you what, I mean, of course mine do, but when I go to the pharmacist to get certain topical things that I might have or that I might need, I would say to them, look, I'm taking XYZ. What do I need to know with any interaction with CBD? Or every time I, go to the doctor, and if they might say, well, your vitamin, you need a vitamin D, to bring it up, because I always make sure everything is really good with my blood work and everything. And I say, well, does that interact with CBD? Because I always take CBD, like that's my thing, that's my jam, CBD. So they go, no, that's good, but they always want you to tell them this is a supplement that you're taking because it can interact with medicines you're currently taking. But your pharmacist, if your doctor, I mean, you still need to talk to your doctor about it. I think my doctors tell me that, but if the doctors don't know, I mean, after you tell them, your pharmacist knows what you're taking. And that's a good
Yeah,
person to go
pharmacists
to.
know much more about the
Much
drug
more.
interactions.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. So you agree with that statement?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk to your doctor,
Yeah.
but you also want to talk to your pharmacist.
Yes. Yes. So so anyhow, I wanted to bring that up because,
Thank you for that.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I think that's really important. So those are the three major factors that people need to take into consideration. Like I say, always talk to your doctor before taking this or anything else. And also the other factor that Dr. Carroll even brings up is that grapefruit juice, for some reason, it has an adverse effect to people in medications a lot. So you have to be really careful with that. So, it can really play havoc with stuff. So I'm just
Yeah,
throwing.
there's, I think the stat was 60% of all medications do have this, they process through a certain enzyme in the liver. And on the label of the medication, it'll say specifically, do not take with grapefruit.
Uh-huh.
CBD has that same quality. So
Oh,
it's not, like lethal, but it can potentiate that medication. So to work around that, what most suggest is to take your medication first
okay.
and then wait 2 hours and then take your CBD. Because if you're ingesting your CBD, like, so if you're eating one of your recipes, you're going to be ingesting it. It's going to go into your liver, and that's how it will impact medication. If you're doing it sublingually, it's a little less clear if there's going to be a conflict in the liver.
Hmm.
Since it's not going through the digestive system, it's
Right.
absorbing in your bloodstream
Right.
sublingually right into those capillaries. So a good rule of thumb I always suggest is if you do have medication that says don't take with grapefruit, then don't take it with CBD either.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you said that, because I will tell people that, because I didn't know how CBD interacts with grapefruit as well.
Yeah. So they just need to monitor, depending on the medication, but they want to monitor the patient closely to see how it would adjust their dosing of the medication.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes it could go up or down depending on how they're using it, if they want to use it at the same time. So,
Yeah.
like, I think like blood thinners, and I'm not an expert on that. So, but I have heard that those are really important to pay attention to.
Where's my
Oh,
kitty?
there's your cat.
That's Callie Cat. But so Steve, are you saying then that like in terms of CBD and grapefruit and the drug interaction, are you saying like take your CBD first and wait 2 hours and then do your grapefruit juice?
No, the
Or
other way. Well, I would keep. You can keep grapefruit juice just like CBD and just like medications. So all three of those, grapefruits, medications that say don't take with grapefruits, and CBD, all use the same pathway in the liver, the enzymes in the liver. So it's like a one-lane highway, and when they're all coming at the same time, it's unclear what's going to win. I think the first one there wins. So if you would want to take your medication first, and then after 2 hours, then you can drink grapefruit juice or CBD. But I wouldn't take grapefruit juice and CBD at the same time either.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. I never knew that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Such a
it's,
wealth of knowledge.
I mean, look at all these things we can pull out of
I
here.
know. I love it. But I mean, this is important stuff because,
It is.
it counteracts what you're taking, or you might have an interaction, like Dr. Kenton said. So
Yeah.
it's really important. This is valuable information.
Yeah, if
So.
you're taking blood pressure medication and it says, and it's going to impact based on what you're eating, which it can,
Mhm.
then you pay attention. And look, I know nobody wants to be bothered with these things. They just want the easy pill. But you know what? I mean, it's important to be aware, and you don't want to just follow advice from someone. You want to really understand what you're doing
I agree.
and consciously make these decisions and be responsible for yourself.
No, I
Because at
agree.
the end of the day, you're responsible for your body. There's no
Yeah.
one else that can advise you. But at the end of the day, you really have to make those decisions and actions for yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, that was all I had to say on Dr. Kenton's behalf, from what I put in my book, but I wanted just to go over the dosing dilemma on page 26 and the dosing factors on page 27.
Wow, you're much more than just the CBD recipe guru.
Oh,
You really are putting a lot more into this book than just recipes. That you would
thank
think it's just a
you.
recipe book, and you should you sell that on your website.
Well, actually it can be purchased on Amazon.com. Like
Oh,
you can
nice!
go,
Right on
well,
Amazon. You
yeah,
can.
right on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and put in CBD Recipe Guru. I mean, the title of the book is In the Kitchen with the CBD Recipe Guru. More than 60 delicious foods without the high. So that's the title of the book. But yeah, it can be purchased on Amazon. That's the way to purchase.
That's cool. Great.
Yeah, thank you. So that's all I got on that.
All right. Anything else to talk about CBD dosing or?
Well, if there's more things on there, you would be the
Well, I
person.
think that's really the dilemma. But
That is the
you have
dilemma.
what I do like in your book, you have a chart in here, and
Oh yeah, I do have a little dosing
hold on a
chart,
second.
don't
Let
I?
me get my read.
Yes, I know. I have all the information
Yes.
in the front.
So
And
there is
there
there's
you
a chart here. It is on page 32. Yes. And here you talk about the different types of consumption, the sublingual, and then the edible consumption. So coming up with your starting dose, there's and I know the math can be confusing for a lot of people, but and we don't need to do the calculations today,
go.
but
Right,
I just want to at least point out the size of we have two different bottles here.
right.
Both of them are one is actually CBD, one CBDA. This one is a 10 milliliter bottle, and this one is a 30 milliliter bottle. And there's milliliters and there's milligrams. So milliliters refers to the volume, and milligrams refers to the weight or how much CBD is actually in there. So you'll come up, the easiest way to come up with a way to compare this a lot of times is per milliliter. So when you open up a dropper, it has
Oh
1
yeah.
milliliter,
Right,
0.75, 0.5,
right.
0.25. So in our tinctures, we have a standard serving size of a quarter of a milliliter, which is 0.25, which is right here.
Yes.
Let's see if I can.
Which is concentrated. Yours is way more concentrated than the average. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good, Steve. Yeah.
Is that good? So
Yeah.
that's
Perfect.
0.25 milliliters.
Uh-huh.
That's one serving. But so in order to make it easy to compare, you just take 1 milliliter, because if the size bottle, you may have a 30 milliliter, a 10 milliliter. We also have 15 milliliters. So if you normalize it to milligrams per milliliter, it can help. So that you can figure out by the serving size and how many milligrams are in a milliliter. So for our tinctures, we target around 60 milligrams of CBD per milliliter.
Okay.
So if it's a 15 milliliter bottle or 30 milliliter bottle, the milliliter itself is going to be the same concentration if that's what you're looking at. So our serving size of a quarter of a milliliter is around 15 milligrams. So that's just the CBD in it. We also talked about full spectrum, broad spectrum, isolate. This also weighs into it, because if you're going to look at 15 milliliters, or a milliliter of just CBD, it's different than 1 milliliter of full spectrum CBD, because there's other compounds in there and terpenes that can help with absorption and the impact of what you're taking. So get to that, milligrams per milliliter number, and that can help compare the different ones. And then there's a rule that you used about dosing. Do you start, the way you start, you should start with go low and slow, start slow and low, or one of those ways. You start with a small amount.
Yeah.
And then you can always increase your servings. So you'd want to start, like we have, 1/4 milliliter, as we recommend. You start with 1/4 milliliter 2 times a day, and you can then stay consistent for a period of time to find your sweet spot. And then you can increase it by a little bit in each serving. You can add another serving a day, but give yourself time to adjust and notice if you are getting the results based on these, your wellness, the condition that you have, and then the product that you're using.
Oh, absolutely. And along those lines, is it okay if I show you a page in my book of the sample dosing diary?
No more of the book. We can't take any more of the book. Just kidding.
Oh, come on, please.
All right, go ahead.
Well, just because what you're saying is, this is a way to keep track of what you just said. So like on here, I put down like, what type are you taking? How often is it edible? Is it a spray? Is it a topical? Are you having it in foods? How many milligrams have you had that day? Stuff like that. So this is just a sample for you to keep track. So in order to find your dosing sweet spot, you need to sort of keep track of what you're doing. And if it doesn't work, then you go, oh, wow, I only took, 1.25 milliliters for the day. And I needed more because I had horrible pain. Up it to 1.25 or 2.0, it just depends. Mm-hmm. So, and because, the percentage was, the type I used was 300 milligrams in that bottle. I need to have maybe, 600 milligram bottle or something, So anyhow, so I just thought I would put that in there.
That's great. No, what a great tool that you have in the book. And I can't wait to get some recipes. So I know you and Linda are going to do some cooking soon. And that'll help us figure out how we can really taste this delicious stuff.
Okay, cool.
And get our healthy, not high at the same time. So
okay, sounds good.
Doing that. So we'll get that scheduled soon and get another video recorded so we can see in the kitchen.
All right.
That's really where your expertise really jumps out. So
yay.
Thanks again, Stacy, for helping bring some light to this dosing dilemma. I learned a lot today. I hope everyone else did too.
Me too. So
have a great day, and we'll
thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Bye. Happy CBD-licious cooking.